Let me tell you something, they laughed. Yeah, when you said you were gonna be the first one in your family to break the cycle, they laughed. When you told them you had a dream, a vision, a calling, they laughed. Not just laughed, they mocked you, they doubted you, they looked at you like you were crazy. But that's what happens when people don't see what you see. They only see where you are, not where you're going. See, they laughed because you were broke, because you were broke, because you were behind, because you failed the test, because you got rejected, because you didn't look like the part, because you didn't come from where one has come from. But listen to me, they always laugh first. They laugh while you're working. They laugh while you're sweating. They laugh while you're sweating. They laugh while you're sacrificing. But you know what? They stopped laughing when the results show up. You kept pushing when they gave up. You stayed up when they went to sleep. You stayed focused when they got distracted. You kept showing up when no one clapped. You kept showing love when you got none back. Now it's your turn. Your time. Free, tumble there. Your moment. They laughed until you won. They didn't laugh because they knew something you didn't. They laughed because they couldn't see it. They couldn't see the fire burning in your chest. They couldn't feel the urgency in your soul. They couldn't hear the voice inside you that said, I'm built for more. And that's the thing about vision. It doesn't come on the screen. It doesn't come with applause. And it sure doesn't come with a fan club. Vision is internal. It's personal. It's yours and yours alone. People laughed at you, not because you were weak, but because they were blind to what was possible. They were using their own limited experiences to judge your unlimited potential. See, most people only believe in things they can measure. Degrees, money, trophies. You can't measure that. Vision lives in the spirit. It speaks in moments when you're alone, broken, doubting yourself, and yet somehow still moving forward. That's when vision whispers to keep going. Not because you're seeing it with your eyes, but because you're feeling it in your bones. The downside of having a vision is that it's often lonely. You can try to explain it to people, but they won't get it. You can try to get them to buy into it, but they won't see the return, and that hurts. It's painful when you're working day in and day out, and the only thing you hear from others is laughter, doubt, or silence. That pain's real, but it's also necessary, because the pain carves out the room for the power. The rejection trains the resilience. When you're not handed support, you're forced to build your own backbone. But that same isolation is also a gift. When nobody else understands your vision, you stop working to impress and start working to express. You stop chasing approval and start chasing purpose. You begin to move from a place of authenticity. That's power, that's freedom. Because when the applause isn't there, but you're still grinding, that's when you know it's real. One of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting others to carry their vision. That's your job. You were given the idea, the dream, the calling, not them. Don't hand over your fire to someone who doesn't even believe in warmth. Your job is to protect it, feed it, and let it guide you. Will that be hard? Absolutely. But nothing extraordinary is birthed in comfort. Now here's the truth. Some people don't laugh because they doubt you. Some laugh because they see what they missed in themselves. They see a version of them that gave up. They see someone who's still swinging when they already put the bat down. Your courage reminds them of their quitting. And that's uncomfortable. So they laugh, not to hurt you, but to protect themselves from the mirror you hold up. You represent a level of discipline, hunger, and risk they once had but let go. Instead of facing that, they dismiss you. But there's a flip side. When you start walking in your vision with consistency, something shifts. You begin to build momentum. That same laughter starts to die out. Their jokes become questions. Their doubt becomes curiosity. How did you do it? And suddenly the vision that was mocked becomes the blueprint others want to follow. This transition isn't easy. It requires emotional toughness. You're going to hear wasting your time. You're going to hear you're not qualified. You're going to hear you're dreaming too big. And every time you hear it, you have two choices. You can either shrink your vision to fit their comfort zone, or you can keep moving forward and let your results adjust their reality. There's no glory in being understood too early. There's no victory in fitting in. If your vision doesn't scare people, if it doesn't make them uncomfortable, then it's not big enough. The same vision that gets you laughed at today will get you honored tomorrow if you don't give up. And that's the difference. Not who believes in it, not who claps for it, but who keeps showing up for it day after day. Your vision was given to you for a reason. You didn't get it by accident. You didn't imagine it randomly. It was placed in your heart because you have the ability to carry it, even if nobody claps, even if everybody laughs. It's not their vision. It's yours. Let them laugh. One day they'll see. They told you couldn't do it. They said it with smirks, with sarcasm, with straight up words that cut deep. You're not smart enough, you're not talented enough, you don't have what it takes. When that doubt, it stings. It doesn't always come from enemies either. Sometimes it comes from friends. Sometimes it comes from family. People you love, people you thought would believe in you, but instead they looked you in the eye and gave you 1,000 reasons why you never make it. And you know what? That kind of doubt can either crush you or it can push you. You got a choice. You can let it break your spirit, or you can take that same doubt and flip it into fuel. Let them talk. Let them say what they want. But let every word they speak push you further, harder, deeper into your purpose. You've got to learn to turn into your internal battle cry. Watch me. See, doubt is a form of pressure, and pressure can destroy pipes, or it can create diamonds. It all depends on what you're made of. Most people break when the world questions them. But if you got something real inside of you, then their doubt doesn't stop you, it wakes you up. It doesn't break you, it builds you. When they say you'll never make it, that's when you need to say to yourself, that's exactly why I will. You can't let their version of your future become your reality, because they're not speaking from truth. They're speaking from fear. They're speaking from fear of failure, fear of change, fear of what they couldn't do. So when they see you trying, when they see you going after something bigger than what they dared to pursue, it triggers something inside them. Your courage shines a light on their fear. Your discipline magnifies their excuses. And rather than face that, it's easier for them to doubt you. But here's what they don't know. Every time they throw doubt your way, they're handing you bricks. And while they're laughing, while they're mocking, while they're pointing fingers, you're using those bricks to build. You're stacking every "you're not good enough," every "that's impossible," every "you'll never do it" into a wall of purpose. You're building a platform with their doubt that one day you'll stand on and say, "I did it anyway." And let me tell you something. There is nothing more powerful than someone who uses rejection as motivation. The person who doesn't need validation to move, the one who grinds in silence, the one who turns pain into power and shame into strength. That's the person who can't be stopped. Because when your drive comes from something internal, something bigger than opinions or approval, then no amount of outside noise can knock you off your path. It's easy to show up when everybody believes in you. It's easy to grind when the crowd is cheering. But when no one's clapping, when the stands are empty, when all you hear is laughter and doubt, that's when you prove who you really are. That's where champions are made. Not on the podium, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, in the silence, in the space where you've got nothing but belief. Every time someone says you can't, you get to make a decision. You can fold or you can fight. You can doubt yourself or you can dig deeper. And the people who win, those rare few who turn dreams into reality, they aren't the ones who had the most talent or the best luck. They're the ones who learned how to transform doubt into drive. They heard the same voices you did, but instead of retreating, they responded with action. Because here's the truth. They don't get to decide what you're capable of. They don't write your story. They don't determine your outcome. You do. You got the pen, you got the power, and you got the responsibility to turn every negative word spoken over you into another reason to go harder. You don't have to shout back. You don't need to argue. Just grind. Just grow. Just keep showing up until your success makes them silent. Let them keep talking. Let them keep doubting. Because while they're watching and waiting for you to fail, you're in the lab working. You're studying. You're training. You're improving. You're doing what they want so you can live how they can. And eventually, the same mouths that laugh will be the ones asking, "How did you do it?" And you'll tell them the truth. You helped. Every time you said I couldn't, I decided I would. That's the secret. That's how you win. You don't avoid the doubt. You use it. You convert it. You take that negative energy and flip it into fuel for the fire inside you. You let it sharpen your focus, strengthen your will, and stretch your resilience. Because once you learn how to do that, once you master the art of flipping doubt into drive, there's nothing in this world that can stop you. It doesn't happen on the stage. It doesn't happen in front of the cameras or on social media. Success isn't born in the moments when everyone is cheering your name. It's born in the silence, in the early mornings and late nights, in the grind that nobody sees, in the repetition that nobody claps for. The real work, the kind that builds greatness, happens in the dark. That's the truth they don't show you in the highlight reels. You've got to understand that greatness doesn't come with a crowd. The beginning of every meaningful journey starts alone. There are ball lights, no cameras, and most of the time, no support. It's just you and the dream that won't leave you alone. And you got to decide right there, in the quiet, that you're willing to do what others won't. You got to make peace with the process. You got to be okay with being unseen, uncelebrated, and underestimated. That's where champions are made. In the unnoticed moments, while others are sleeping, you're waking up. While others are watching Netflix, you're watching your future play out in your mind. While others are looking for shortcuts, you're laying every brick with patience and purpose. You're sweating, failing, learning, proving, and nobody's watching. But that's exactly what makes it real. It's not built for show, it's built for impact. It's not polished for the world yet. It's still under construction. And here's the powerful part. When you keep working in the dark, eventually the light comes. But by then, you're not working for the light anymore. You've already learned to love the process. You've already found power in the discipline. That's why the light doesn't blind you when it finally shows up, because you didn't chase the light. You became it. But most people don't last that long. Most people quit in the dark. They get tired of not being seen. They get frustrated when no one validates them. They start to believe the lie that if no one's watching, it doesn't matter. That there's no audience. There's no reason to perform. But that's the trap. If you only move when someone's watching, you'll never master anything. The ones who win, truly win, are the ones who train like it's game day every day. No fans, no spotlight, just discipline, just hunger, just fire. You can't fake what you do in the dark. You can't cheat the grind when nobody's looking. That's the test. That's where character is revealed. See, when it's just you, the weights, the books, the craft, that's where integrity is built. You can't post your way to success. You can't talk your way into greatness. You've got to do the work quietly, consistently, even when nobody cares, especially when nobody cares. And here's what they won't tell you. The dark seasons are not punishment, they're preparation. The silence isn't a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're forming. You're building roots. You're digging deep. So when the storm comes, and it will, you don't break. You bend, you don't fold. Because your foundation wasn't laid in applause, it was laid in pressure. That's the difference between those who shine and those who fade. Some people love the stage, but they hate the work. They want the crown, but they won't carry the cross. They want the celebration, but not the sacrifice. But you're different. You're willing to sweat when nobody's clapping. You're willing to fail behind closed doors so you can succeed when it counts. You're willing to keep showing up with no guarantee, no attention, and no reward except the promise you made to yourself. Every early morning, you push yourself when no one's watching. Every night, you go to sleep with a tired body and a clear mind. That man, every rep, every page, every hour, it adds up. They won't see it until the results show up. But that's okay. Let them wonder how you got so strong. Let them ask where your confidence comes from. Let them try to figure out how you stayed so consistent. And when they ask, you'll know the answer. You built it in the dark. While they were laughing, you were locking in. While they were relaxing, you were refining. They thought nothing was happening because they didn't see it. But that's because they weren't supposed to. The seed grows under the soil. The roots take hold before the flower ever blooms. The foundation is poured long before the building rises. So don't panic when you're working and nobody notices. Don't quit when the crowd is silent. Keep building, keep planning, keep showing up in the dark. Because one day the light's going to hit what you've been working on. And when it does, they won't just see the result. They'll feel the weight of every silent sacrifice, every lonely decision, every private struggle you overcame. And they'll realize you didn't just appear. You didn't just get lucky. You were forged in the fire they never saw. Built in the dark they never enter, and ready for a future they never imagined. They say you were wasting your time. They say your dreams were too big, too unrealistic, too far-fetched. They laughed behind your back. Some didn't even hide it. They laughed right in your face. You told them what you wanted to do, who you wanted to become, and they shrugged, smirked, or scoffed. They dismissed you because they didn't see how someone like you could ever break out of the box they put you in. They saw where you came from and assumed it defined where you could go. But what they didn't realize was this: you were already working. While they were busy talking, you were training. While they were sleeping, you were studying. While they were doubting, you were planning. Because the truth is, the dream was never just a wish. It was a calling. Something inside you was pulling you, pushing you, telling you to keep going even when the world said stop. When you heard the laughter, you didn't fold. You didn't quit. You didn't water down your vision to make them comfortable. No, you used it. You let the laughter fuel you. You let the rejection harden your focus. You took every you'll never make it and turned it into a step forward. Because you understood something they did. Belief has to come from within. It can't be borrowed. It can't be outsourced. It's got to be rooted in your bones. Because the people who laughed at you weren't just doubting your dream. They were doubting themselves. They were projecting their limits onto your life. They were revealing the ceilings they had placed on their own potential. So, when you spoke with fire, they didn't know how to handle it. It's not your job to make them understand. It's not your responsibility to convince them. Your job is to work, to rise, to evolve, because success doesn't need explanation. It speaks for itself. The most powerful response you can ever give is progress. Let your consistency do the talking. Let your discipline write the story. Keep showing up. Keep getting better. And eventually, the same people who laughed will have to rewrite the narrative. That day will come, the day they realize you weren't joking, the day they see the vision becoming real, the day your progress forces them to see you in a new light. And it won't happen overnight. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen without resistance. You'll lose sleep. You'll lose fake friends. You'll lose comfort. But what you'll gain is something they can't touch: strength, purpose, resilience. You'll become someone they never saw coming. The process will humble you. There will be days you feel invisible. There will be moments when quitting seems like the easier option. But those moments are exactly where winners are made. That's the pressure that shapes the diamond. That's the fire that forges the steel. You've got to learn to endure the silence, to outlast the doubt, and to love the process even when it feels like no one's watching. Because the real ones, the ones who make it, they don't need applause to move. They don't need permission to pursue greatness. They don't need validation to grind. They operate from a deeper place, a place of vision, of hunger, of unshakable commitment. And if you've got that, if you've got the kind of drive that shows up every day, whether people believe in you or not, then you're already unstoppable. Eventually, they'll stop laughing. Eventually, they'll have no choice but to acknowledge what you built. But by the time that happens, you won't even need it, because your joy won't come from proving them wrong. It'll come from proving yourself right. You didn't rise to impress. You rose to fulfill. You didn't grind to be seen. You grinded to become. You didn't come this far just to silence critics. You came this far to become who you were born to be. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them laugh. That's not your concern. Your focus is on the mission. Your focus is on execution. Every second you spend proving yourself to people who will never believe in you is a second you could spend becoming undeniable. So stop explaining and start expanding. Stop begging for support and start building with what you have. Every step you take is a brick in the foundation of your legacy. And when the world finally sees the structure you've built, when they see the results that can't be denied, they'll realize the truth. It wasn't luck. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a fluke. It was work. Relentless, unseen, unshakable work. Work that began when they laughed. Work that never stopped, even when no one believed. Work that turned silence into strength and doubt into destiny. And in that moment, you won't have to say a word. Your success will say everything. They didn't see the struggle. They didn't see the nights you went without sleep. The mornings you forced yourself out of bed when everything inside you said stay down. They didn't see you grinding when no one believed, working while they were relaxing, pushing while they were doubting. They see you now, maybe, but they didn't see you then. And that's what they'll never understand. That the person you're becoming didn't appear overnight. You weren't born into victory. You fought your way here. They see the outcome, but they don't understand the price. They look at the results, but they don't recognize the road you had to walk to get there. It's easy to admire the shine when they never had to feel the heat of the fire that made you. They laugh now because they think success is a moment, a trophy, a title, a post. But what they don't get is that success is a lifestyle. It's not a finish line. It's how you show up every single day. They laugh because it's easier than trying. They laugh because deep down they're afraid. Afraid that your courage exposes their complacency. Afraid that your discipline highlights their excuses. So it's more comfortable to mock you than to match you. What they missed was the pain, the doubt, the rejection, the nights you question yourself, the days you wondered if it was even worth it. You walked through storms that never even knew existed, and through it all, you kept moving. One more rep, one more hour, one more call. You showed up when it wasn't fun. You sacrificed things they take for granted. While they laughed, you built brick by brick, quietly, relentlessly. You had moments where you felt invisible, times when you felt like giving up, times when it would have been easier to settle, to shrink, to stop chasing, but something inside you wouldn't let you quit. There was a voice louder than the doubt, a fire hotter than the fear. And that fire said, keep going. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Because the dream was worth the fight. And it's funny how people laugh at you when you're in the process, but cheer for you when you're at the top. Suddenly, they act like they knew it all along. They want to be close to the results, but distant from the struggle. They want to be associated with the glow, but not the grind. But you remember who doubted you. You remember who disappeared when you needed them most. You remember every laugh, every eye roll, every condescending word. And it's not about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about honoring the version of you that refused to give up. The version of you that didn't have fans, didn't have applause, but still showed up. It's about making sure that all those lonely hours meant something, that all the pain had a purpose, that all the tears weren't wasted. You owe it to yourself, not to them, to see it through. Because at the end of the day, you're not doing it for validation. You're doing it for transformation. You're doing it because something in you believes that life has more to offer than what you were handed. You're doing it because you're tired of limits, tired of chains, tired of the lie that says if people like you don't make it. You're not here to repeat history. You're here to rewrite it. So when they laugh, let their doubt echo in the background while your work speaks in the foreground. Let their silence be a reminder that you're not doing this for recognition. You're doing it for evolution. Because the only way to truly silence the critics is to become undeniable. Not just once, but every day. Not just when it's convenient, but when it's hardest. Keep going when it's boring. Keep going when you're tired. Keep going when no one's watching. That's where the real power is. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadow. Not in the performance, but in the preparation. And when the moment comes, when the world finally sees what you've been building, you won't need to explain yourself. The results will speak louder than their laughter ever did. That's what they'll never get. That's what they'll never get. Think success is luck. But you know better. You know it's sweat. It's sacrifice. It's staying locked in when everyone else clocks out, so let them laugh. One day, that laughter would turn into applause. And by then, you won't even need it because you'll already be living what they never believed was possible. They never thought you'd laugh. When you first spoke your dreams out loud, they smiled. But not the kind of smile that says, I believe in you. It was the kind that says, that's cute. You'll grow out of it. They thought it was a phase. They thought you quit like most people do because that's what they know. People start strong, but they fizzle out. Motivation dies. Distractions win. Life gets heavy, and most people buckle under the pressure. But not you. You didn't come this far to only come this far. You didn't show up just to play around with the idea of success. You came to finish. You came to conquer. You came to endure. And while they were waiting for you to fall, waiting for you to burn out, waiting for you to give up, you kept going. Every setback you faced, every door that closed, every voice that whispered, you're not good enough. You used it. You turned it into fuel. It's not that it was easy. It's that you were committed. You showed up when the fire faded. It worked when it was no longer exciting. When the world moved on to the next trend, the next distraction, the next distraction, the next excuse, you stayed locked in. You weren't just chasing a goal. You were building a new identity. And part of that identity was learning how to keep going when most people would stop. They thought you get tired, and you did, but you didn't quit. Not to keep going, try to keep going, tired, to keep going, tired. They thought you lose hope, and you did sometimes. But you didn't let that hopelessness define. You pushed through the doubt. You figured out how to find a spark in the middle of the darkness. You created your own momentum when none existed. You didn't wait for motivation. You built discipline. You know what most people don't understand? It's not the big moments that define you. It's not the one win or the one opportunity. It's the days when nothing happened, when you don't see results, when you feel stuck. When you feel stuck, when no one texts you, keep going, and the lights don't show up. Those are the days that shape you. That's when you find out who you really are. And you found out that you're built for it. You've been doubted. You've been underestimated. You've been told to lower your expectation. People try to hand you limits like they were facts, but you refused. You didn't argue. You didn't scream. You didn't scream. You didn't post a long explanation. You just kept showing up. Quiet, focused, consistent. And that silence, that's what scared the most. Because every day you kept going was a day. They realized you weren't like the rest. You weren't going to fold. It's funny now, the same ones who doubted you are starting to notice. They're not laughing anymore. They're watching, they're asking questions. So how'd you do it? What's your secret? But there is no secret. You just stayed the course. You kept swinging, you kept fighting. When the process got boring, you didn't bail. When life threw distractions, you didn't get off track. When pain showed up, and it did, you didn't run from it. You embraced it. You used it to sharpen your edge. You started to realize that longevity is a superpower. Anybody can start something. Anybody can get hyped for a day, but it takes something different to endure. It takes something rare to keep pushing when the hype is gone and all that's left is grind. That's what makes you dangerous. You're not powered by applause. You're powered by purpose. You're powered by purpose, and purpose doesn't quit. Now they're starting to see what consistency looks like over time. The same ones who counted you out are now watching your rise, and they don't know how to respond because they didn't think you'd make it this far. They didn't see the nights you cried yourself to sleep, but woke up ready anyway. They didn't see the moments you almost said, I'm done, but chose to say, oh, one more day. They didn't see the quiet war you fought with yourself to keep going, but you did. And that's what matters. Your strength isn't in how loud you are. It's in how long you last. You're still here, still building, still building, still growing, still grinding. They thought you were a moment, but you're a movement. They thought you were a phase, but you're a force. And every day you keep going, you prove it. Not just to them, but to yourself. So if you're tired, good. That means you've been working. If it hurts, good. That means you're growing. If it's heavy, good. That means it matters. Keep going. Keep moving. Because they laughed when you started, but they won't be laughing when you finish. They doubted you because you weren't loud. You weren't flashy. You weren't out here telling everyone what you were going to do. You were just doing it. And because you were quiet, they assumed you were weak. Because you didn't broadcast every move, they thought you weren't making any. They misunderstood your silence for stagnation. But you weren't still. You weren't sleeping. You were working. You were preparing. You were becoming. You were becoming. And now that your name is beginning to rise, now that your presence is starting to grow, they're beginning to realize they got it wrong. You see, real power moves in silence. True growth doesn't need a spotlight. You don't need to convince the world when you're convinced within yourself. And you were. You believed before there was proof. You showed up before anyone saw value in what you were building. You moved with intention when nobody clapped. And that's what separates you from the rest. Because most people only show up when someone's watching, but you showed up when no one cared. You pushed when it felt pointless. You built when there were no cheers, no likes, no comments. You learned how to walk alone without losing momentum. You mastered the art of progress in silence. You embraced the grind, the solitude, the stillness. And in that space, you didn't just get stronger. You got sharper. You studied. You practiced. You failed quietly and learned loudly. They didn't see the late nights, the early mornings, the tears behind closed doors. They didn't see the sacrifices, the loneliness, the doubt. They only see the rise, but not the climb. And they laugh. Because that's what people do when they can't understand your journey. They laugh because they couldn't see your vision. They laugh because you didn't meet their definition of success. But success isn't noise. Success isn't hype. It's not highlight reel. It's built in the dark. It's built in the gym when no one's there. In the library when it's partying. When the library was partying. In the studio when the world is sleeping. You showed up in those places. That's where your greatness was born. In silence. They thought silence meant weakness, but it was focus. They thought quiet meant fear. You weren't avoiding the world. You were preparing to impact it. And now the same people who dismissed you are trying to figure out where you came from. They act like your rise was sudden, like it happened overnight. But this isn't luck. This isn't magic. This is the result of nights you refused to give up, of mornings you chose to start even when you didn't feel ready. This is years of consistency that they never cared to notice. And the most powerful part, you never needed them to notice. You weren't doing this for attention. You weren't chasing validation. You were chasing transformation. You were chasing transformation. Because this wasn't about proving anyone wrong. It was about proving yourself right. It was about becoming the version of you that you saw in your mind when no one else did. It was about fulfilling a promise you made to yourself when a dream was just a whisper and the world was silent. Now you move differently, not because you've changed, but because you've grown. You don't need to speak loudly because your results speak for you. Your actions echo louder than any announcement ever could. Your presence makes people pause, not because you demand attention, but because your energy has shifted. You carry weight now, the weight of experience, of discipline, of silent victories stacked on top of each other. They don't realize how many times you could have quit. How many chances you had to walk away and no one would have blamed you. But you did. You kept your head down and your heart open. You kept trusting the process. You learned to lead yourself when no one was following. And that's the kind of strength that can't be taught. It's forged in the quiet places where no one else dares to go. So let them talk. Let them assume. Let them wonder how you did it. It shows that success isn't about being the smartest or the most talented. It's about being the most relentless. It's about fighting for your dreams when no one else is in your corner. It's about having the heart to continue when every part of you wants to stop. Now, standing on the other side of that struggle, you have something invaluable, wisdom. Wisdom to guide those who are just starting, those who are in the middle of their fight, those who feel like giving up. Your story becomes a beacon of hope, a reminder that no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many times you fall, you can rise again. His resilience isn't just surviving, it's thriving in spite of everything. You are proof that the greatest victories are born from the toughest battles, that the darkest nights produce the brightest dawns, that those who refuse to quit, who keep pushing beyond pain and doubt, are the ones who change their lives and the lives of others forever. Your strength is a legacy, your resilience a roadmap, your success an anthem for anyone who's ever been told they can't. And as you continue to grow and conquer, you carry this truth with you. The people who turned their backs didn't stop your rise, they only made it stronger. They didn't break you, they built you, they didn't silence your dreams. They made you roar louder, so keep going, keep fighting, keep shining because your story is far from over. It's only just beginning. When they doubted you, they didn't just underestimate your abilities. They underestimated your spirit. They looked at your journey, your struggles, your humble beginnings, and wrote you off before you even had the chance to rise. Their disbelief was loud and clear. They treated your dreams as if they were fantasies, your goals as if they were unreachable. But what they failed to realize is that the fire inside you was stronger than their doubts. The very fact that you kept going despite their disbelief is what sets you apart. Because the truth is, the world is filled with people who talk about what they want to do, but very few who actually do it. You're one of the few who didn't just talk. You acted. You kept grinding when no one was watching. You believed when no one else did. It's easy to be discouraged when people doubt you. Their voices can be deafening. The question becomes, will you let their disbelief define you? Will you allow their lack of faith to shatter your confidence? Or will you use it as a catalyst to prove them wrong? The greatest champions aren't those who have never faced doubt, but those who faced it and refused to be broken by it. Your doubt is your fuel. Their disbelief is your motivation. Every time someone tells you you can't, you tell yourself, oh, watch me. Doubt tries to plant seeds of fear and hesitation in your mind. It tries to convince you that your dreams are too big, Your goals too far away. Your efforts insignificant. But you learn to recognize doubt for what it really is, a test of your commitment. It's a challenge to see how badly you want what you say you want. And you respond not with fear, but with relentless determination. You decide that no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many times you're told no, you will keep going. Because winning isn't about avoiding obstacles, it's about overcoming them. The path is never easy. There will be days when you question yourself, when the weight of others' disbelief feels heavy on your shoulders. There will be moments of loneliness when you feel like you're fighting a battle alone. But those moments are where champions are made. They are the crucible that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. You learn to push through when the world isn't cheering, when the road seems endless, when the victory seems distant. You develop a resilience that no setback can break, a faith that no failure can shake. And then one day it happens. You achieve what they said you couldn't. You reach the milestone they said was impossible. You succeed in the face of their disbelief. And when that moment arrives, it's more than just a personal victory, it's a statement to the world. It says, I was doubted, but I never doubted myself. It says, they laughed, but I kept working. It says, their disbelief fueled my fire, and now I'm unstoppable. That victory isn't just yours, it's a beacon for anyone who's ever been told they're not enough. You become an example of what's possible when you refuse to give up. Your story inspires others to believe in themselves, to keep going when the odds are stacked against them. You show that the only limits that truly exist are the ones you accept. You demonstrate that with enough faith, effort, and perseverance, anything is possible. Your success is a loud declaration that belief in yourself outweighs any external doubt. But even after you win, doubt may still linger in the minds of others. Some will try to diminish your achievements, attribute your success to luck, or say you just got lucky this time. You learn to rise above that noise. You know the truth. Your victory is no accident. It's the result of hard work, sacrifice, and unwavering belief. You carry that truth with pride, knowing that the journey you took to get there was worth every struggle, every setback, every moment of doubt. And as you continue on your path, you hold on to the lessons you've learned. You remember how it felt to be doubted, to be overlooked, to be underestimated. That memory keeps you humble and hungry. It pushes you to work even harder, to aim even higher, because the fight never truly ends. There will always be new challenges, new doubts, new obstacles. But now you're stronger, wiser, and more prepared. You know how to turn disbelief into fuel, doubt into drive, and setbacks into setups for success. You become unstoppable, not because you never faced doubt, but because you refuse to let it stop you. You prove that the greatest victories come not from avoiding failure, but from overcoming it. That success belongs to those who keep going when others would quit. That true greatness is born from perseverance in the face of disbelief. And in that truth lies your power, the power to rise, to conquer, and to inspire. So when you feel the weight of doubt, remember this: you are more than their disbelief. You are the result of your own belief, your own work, and your own resilience. Keep pushing forward, keep chasing your dreams, keep proving them wrong, because your victory is coming. And when it does, it will be undeniable, unforgettable, and unstoppable. They didn't see you struggle in the dark. They didn't see the hours you spent grinding while everyone else was relaxing. They didn't notice the nights you stayed up working while they slept peacefully. No one stood beside you when you turned down comfort for commitment. Nobody applauded you when you passed on going out just to put in one more hour of effort. You were alone in the quiet, sacrificing what everyone else chased. Fun, comfort, ease, because you had something burning inside you that they didn't understand. You had a vision that only you could see. And while they were laughing at your lack, they missed what was really happening. You were laying bricks, brick by brick, in silence, in solitude, and sacrifice. Sacrifice isn't glamorous. It's not posted on social media. It doesn't get likes, retweets, or attention. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel fun. It doesn't give instant rewards. Sacrifice is paying now for purpose later. It's choosing to suffer temporarily to achieve what others only dream of permanently. And the thing is, the ones who laughed at you, they couldn't make the sacrifices you made. That's why they laughed. It was easier to mock you than to admit they couldn't do what you were doing. Because sacrifice exposes people. It reveals who's committed and who's just talking. And you weren't just talking. You were doing. While they mocked, you moved. While they joked, you built. They didn't see you eating cheap meals to save money. They didn't see you waking up before the sun just to get in extra reps, extra study, extra reps at the gym, or pages in the book. They didn't see the relationships you had to let go of, the invitations you had to decline, the loneliness you endured. All they saw was that you were missing out. But what they didn't know was that you weren't missing out. You were leveling up. You weren't escaping life. You were preparing for a life that most people never reach. Sacrifice doesn't feel good, but it pays dividends no applause ever could. And now that the results are showing, now that the work is paying off, now that the spotlight has found its way to you, now they want to act like it just happened. Now they call it luck. Now they want the secret. But the truth is, there's no secret. The spotlight didn't just find you. You earned it. You didn't stumble in success. You sacrificed for it. Every tear you cried in silence. Every time you forced yourself to keep going. Every time you said no when it would have been easier to say yes. That was the work. That was the cost. The spotlight isn't the success. The process was. The transformation didn't happen on stage. It happened in the silence, in the dark, in the grind, in the sacrifice. And they still might not understand. That's fine. They weren't supposed to understand because the dream wasn't theirs, it was yours. The calling wasn't theirs to answer, it was yours. You were built different. You had a hunger they couldn't comprehend, a discipline they couldn't match, a fire they couldn't put out. So let them keep talking. Let them try to explain away what they're witnessing. Let them call it anything but what it was, sacrifice. Because deep down, even if they don't say it out loud, they know the truth. You didn't just appear in the spotlight. You fought for it. You bled for it. You earned it. And here's the thing. It's not even about the spotlight. That's just a byproduct. What really matters is who you became during the sacrifice. You became stronger, wiser, more focused. You built a level of character and grit that nobody can take away from you. The results are great, but the real reward is who you are now. You're not the same person who started this journey. You're the version that was forged through pressure, shaped through fire, and molded by discipline. You didn't just chase the dream. You became the person worthy of it. So don't forget those quiet days, quiet days. Don't forget the tears, the long nights, the skipped meals, the lost friendships, and missed parties. Don't forget the discomfort, because that was the process. That was a setup. That was the soil where your greatness was planted. And the spotlight, that's just the harvest. You planted with pain, watered with faith, and now you're reaping the rewards. Not because you were lucky, but because you were loyal. Loyal to your vision. Loyal to your vision. They didn't see the sacrifice, but they can't ignore the spotlight. And even if they never give you the credit, even if they keep calling it luck, it doesn't matter. Because you know the truth. You know what it cost. You know what you gave up to get here. And most importantly, you know you can do it again if you have to. Because the spotlight didn't make you. The sacrifice did. They didn't expect you to make it. Let's be honest. They didn't even consider the possibility. When you started, they didn't take you seriously. They barely noticed your effort, and if they did, they dismissed it. They sized you up and made a decision based on your background, your silence, your early failures. They assumed your quiet meant weakness, your patience meant fear, and your consistency meant you were wasting your time. They saw your work ethic and thought it was desperation. But what they failed to realize is that you were never trying to impress them. You weren't doing it for approval, applause, or attention. You were building something bigger than they can understand. You weren't trying to become famous. You were trying to become unstoppable. You weren't trying to be seen. You were trying to become solid. Brick by brick, day by day, you were becoming. And because your transformation didn't happen overnight, they missed it. Because your grind wasn't posted every hour, they overlooked it. Because your process wasn't glamorous, they assumed it was pointless. But while they were talking, you were working. While they were laughing, you were evolving. While they were wasting time, you were preparing. And now they have no choice but to look at you different. Now you become the example they never saw coming. You don't look like the stereotype of success. You don't fit the mold. You don't follow the script. That's why they couldn't see it coming. You shatter expectations. You didn't just rise above the noise. You became the reason people believe they can rise too. You went from being doubted to being duplicated, from ignored to imitated. You went from being the one they underestimated to the one they now use as a blueprint. And that transition didn't happen because you proved them wrong. It happened because you proved yourself right. You kept showing up. You kept doing the work when there was no promise it would pay off. You kept believing when there was no crowd to cheer you on. You didn't need validation. You needed vision. You didn't chase trends. You chased purpose. And the very people who once called you delusional are now asking for your advice. The ones who ignored your early attempts now study your every move. You've become a walking contradiction to the old beliefs because what they thought was weakness turned out to be resilience. What they thought was naive turned out to be faith. And what they thought was failure was just your foundation being laid. You didn't arrive here by chance. You arrived here by choice. Daily choices, hard choices, the choice to stay disciplined when it would have been easier to give in. The choice to take the stairs when everyone else waited for the elevator. The choice to listen to your inner voice instead of outside opinions. You made those choices over and over until one day the result spoke for itself. But even now, the story isn't about proving them wrong. It's about being right about who you could become. This was never about revenge, never about ego, never about clapping back. It was about becoming someone your younger self would be proud of. Someone who kept pushing no matter how long it took. Someone who stayed loyal to the dream even when no one else believed in it. Someone who could be a lighthouse for others, sailing through their own storm. Because now, your story is no longer just your own. It's a permission slip for others. A reminder that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they refuse to quit. You didn't just change your life. You changed the way people see what's possible. People who once didn't believe in themselves are watching you and saying, if they can do it, maybe I can too. That's power. That's influence. And that's the kind of legacy that doesn't fade. So yes, they didn't expect it, but it doesn't matter because now they see it. They see the results. They see the transformation. And more importantly, they see the standard. You become the one they refer to when someone else is about to give up. You become the story they tell when someone needs hope. You become the example they never expected.